welcome to The World Today. I am Amarachi Ubani. Let's begin with the latest on the search for the missing girls from the school in Chibok. The Presidential Committee set up for the rescue of the abducted students at the government secondary school is not a replacement of the search and rescue operations being undertaken by security agencies. Its aim, however, is to provide a platform for coordinated input by all those affected by the tragedy by means of public interface. President Goodluck Jonathan made this clear when he inaugurated the committee in the presidential villa. According to the President, the committee is not a judicial or administrative committee. Rather, it is a step that the government is taking to confront the sad circumstances surrounding the abduction of the school girls. Well, up next, there was a protest much earlier today in Abuja. We're looking at those pictures from much earlier. These protests have become frequent in the country, especially in the Federal Capital Territory, where some who claim to be mothers of the girls, as well as human rights activists, civil rights activists, members of the Nigerian Labour Congress, as well as some influential people in the society, taken to the streets of Abuja, trying to put pressure on the federal government to do something to bring those girls back. These groups of people have promised that they will remain on the streets until something is done and until their daughters come home. That's the aim of the protests.
Bring back our girls. Bring back our girls.
It's normal. In every protest, people will be arrested, some will be molested, some will be intimidated. But I think the spirit is to keep on the fight and to make sure that more people join the cause. So no amount of intimidation or arrest can stop a true Nigerian who believes in humanity and who believes in freedom of movement and freedom of education and all the freedom that he deserves.
Her pictures from earlier today, and those protests continue across the country. Her promise to continue until those girls are brought home. And of course, the situation has attracted a lot of international attention. British Foreign Minister William Hague has offered help to Nigeria to secure the release of the girls who were kidnapped by Boko Haram. Mr. Hague told journalists after he arrived from a Council of Europe meeting in Vienna that the UK is offering practical help this time. However, he insisted he does not want to discuss the details of what help Britain will be offering.
Well, we're offering practical help. What has happened here, that the actions of Boko Haram in using girls as the spoils of war, the spoils of terrorism, is disgusting, it is immoral. It should show everybody across the world that they should not give any support to such a vile organization. And it is an example of why we have set up the Preventing Sexual Violence Initiative.
British Foreign Secretary William Hague, does appear that Nigeria is not short of foreign support. The United States has also offered support to Nigeria in the search for the girls. The White House spokesperson, Mr. Jay Carney, says President Barack Obama is being briefed as his national security team is monitoring developments. He added that the U.S. is offering counter-terrorism help to Nigerian investigators, and that involves information sharing and improving Nigeria's forensics and investigative capacity.
We continue to stand firmly with the people of Nigeria in their efforts to bring the terrorist violence perpetrated by Boko Haram to an end while ensuring civilian protection and respect for human rights. When it comes to what specifically we are doing, our counterterrorism assistance to Nigeria focuses on information sharing, on improving Nigeria's forensics and investigative capacity. It also stresses the importance of protecting civilians and ensuring that human rights are protected and respected. We are working with the Nigerian government to strengthen its criminal justice system and increase confidence in the government by supporting its efforts to hold those responsible for violence accountable. there are other things, I'm sure, specifics that the State Department can provide to you, but this is an outrage and a tragedy, and we are doing what we can to assist the Nigerian government to support its efforts to find and free the young women who were abducted.
Well, the World Economic Forum begins tomorrow here in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. And as expected, President Jonathan has promised promised delegates safety during the forum. Channels Television will be there to bring you live events and meetings and deliberations at the event. Much earlier today, our correspondent went into town and came back with pictures of what Abuja does look like. Much earlier today, traffic jams practically all over the city. People making last-minute decisions, running last-minute errands to make sure that they have enough, especially as most public offices and most public places will be shut down for the period of the summit. And of course, this is also to contain security, to make sure that checks do not result in long queues at various checkpoints. Also, security has been beefed up all over the city. Checkpoints, we understand, our correspondent Adeshawa Josh, who will be joining us much later, tells us that there are quite a number of checkpoints all over the city. A lot of checks going on, especially where the World Economic Forum Africa meetings will be holding. That's a Transcorp Hilton Hotel in Abuja. A lot of security personnel on the ground making checks as expected, because of the impending threat on the Federal Capital Territory. We'll take a break now. When we come back, The World Today continues.
With a growing base of over $2 trillion, Africa is rising and Nigeria is rising too as one of the 10 fastest emerging economies on the continent. As the largest economy in Africa hosts the 24th edition of the World Economic Forum on Africa, this year's theme is timely. This morning, we'll be reporting live throughout this key event in the business calendar. Leaders across board set priorities for business and government. World Economic Forum Africa, forging inclusive growth, creating jobs.
Welcome back to The World Today. Now, Russia's foreign minister has ruled out holding a new round of talks in Geneva in a bid to defuse the Ukrainian crisis. Sergei Lavrov is of the view that there was no point as last month's accord between the US, EU and Russia had not been implemented. However, no one is giving up on Ukraine just yet, as some 30 foreign ministers attended a Council of Europe conference in Vienna today, focusing on the worsening crisis.
The crisis in Ukraine is so intense that it hardly comes as a surprise that 30 foreign ministers arrived for the Council of Europe conference in Vienna today. Austria currently chairs the Council of Europe Human Rights Group and is hosting the conference to discuss ways to defuse the situation in Ukraine, where the government is trying to quell an insurrection by pro-Russian activists.
Well, we are looking for a strong statement from the Council of Europe to support Ukrainian presidential election. Thank you very much.
Ukrainian acting foreign minister Andriy Deschitsia is hopeful that member countries of the pan-European human rights watchdog would back the upcoming presidential elections scheduled for May the 25th. Meanwhile, Ukraine's southern port town Odessa seems to be experiencing relative peace after the deadly clashes between the government troops and pro-Russian militants on Friday, in which more than 40 were killed and over 174 injured. However, some residents continue to mourn for those killed in the clashes at the trade union building. No armed forces were seen on the streets of Odessa today, but Ukraine's Interior Minister Arsen Avakov says a new special forces unit has been drafted in Odessa, and the local government will recruit a 400-member force to protect the city. For now, only police officers were seen on streets on routine patrol. Trade has certainly been affected, like this furniture dealer whose orders for furniture have decreased sharply since clashes erupted. The government has also had to cut back on public events in order to prevent any violence on the Victory Day on May the 9th, a holiday celebrating the victory of the Soviet Union over Nazi Germany.
Well, if Lady Luck does not shine on the Thailand Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra, then she could be removed from office and banned from politics for 5 years. For now, Thailand's Prime Minister has appeared before the Constitutional Court in Bangkok to defend herself against allegations of abuse of power. The complaint was filed by senators who said Yingluck Shinawatra's party benefited from improperly transferring her national security chief in 2011. The decision is expected tomorrow.
Thailand's constitution